Hey everybody, this review is on the sequel to Scream, Scream 2. So the plot of this movie is 2 years after the events of the first movie. Sydney and all her friends and everybody else who survived in the first movie are now in college, and they find out around campus that there's another psycho on the loose who takes the mantle of Ghostface, which they deem as a copycat killer. So all the survivors team up and go throughout the campus and try to find clues to see who the psycho is and hopefully turn him in and hopefully save the day and stop all the murders from happening. I think this is probably one of the very rare sequels that's just as good as the first. Not better, not worse, like just as good. Like, yeah, it is. You could argue it's the same movie, but a lot of it is pretty different. Most of it is basically satirizing sequels. Like the whole point is that all the characters are obviously familiar with the idea that what they're aware of what happened in the last movie, obviously, but they don't shove it in your face like the first movie, how it was more of a parody. It was more of a subtle satirical way, like it was a parody of a slasher movie while still being a slasher movie. But this kind of works. It's a parody of sequels that happens to be a sequel, so it's very subtle. And that's what I like about this series is that these movies, like, they're parodies, but not in the way that you'd think, because, well, that's what Scary Movie is for. Like, it's more of a parody of slasher movies that's also enjoyable as slasher movies. And while it is more or less a lot of the same, it is still a really fun film. It's lots of the is great, interesting seeing a different change of pace. How most of it takes place in a college on campus, so it's a very different setting from the traditional neighborhood we saw in the last movie. There's the beginning really does kind of hook you in right away, just like the first one. Though the beginning was kind of dumb. Like, I guess it's really only the beginning. I guess it wouldn't really bother if it's a spoiler. But Jada Pinkett Smith appears in the beginning, and she's on a date at a horror movie in a movie theater, and then she goes, and then and of course Ghostface comes and kills her, and they're in front of the movie theater screen, and the whole audience thinks it's part of the act, that's kind of dumb if you ask me, because that doesn't happen in movie theaters. People don't pop out like right in front of the screen and just act out a bunch of stuff. Like, that's stage theater, not movie theater. Like, that's kind of stupid. But lots of the cast returns. Like, everyone else is still great. Nev Campbell, David Arquette, Courtney Cox. Like, everybody is really good, and there's like some really good twists and turns, it it works in a way where it really, even though I guess if you really think about like the events of the first movie, you could kind of see some of the twists coming, but it still really connects because it doesn't feel pointless, if that makes any sense. I don't know how I can describe this without spoiling anything, but if you see the first movie and this movie back to back, you can see they really connect with each other, and it's a really good follow up. I think it's back to back. It makes a good double feature, and like, I'll get to the other sequels eventually. We'll talk about those. And so far, I haven't seen Scream 5 yet, but I've seen the others, and I'll get to those soon. But I think so far of the Scream sequels I've seen, I think this is the best one, and I think it's a really good follow up. And anybody who loves the first movie will definitely love this one. I mean, I love Wes Craven movies, so these movies are definitely up my alley. So yeah, Scream 2 is a really good horror sequel. I think it's just as good as the first, and it really makes for an entertaining time. So if you've only seen the first movie, I totally recommend this one. It's a very fun watch, especially if you decide to rewatch the first. This is a really good one to follow up right after. So that's my review of Scream 2. So I'll see you later.